Hey, g'day everyone, and we have another set of patch notes for Atlas. And this one's an absolutely crazy one too. It's really big, and I was not anticipating some of the stuff in there. There's actually quite a lot of new features, which I wasn't anticipating to go with all of the bug fixes that are being done this time around. And it reminded me of something that was actually said, so I thought I'll bring this up at the start. Redbeard had a conversation with a few of the testers and some other people at one point in time to give an indication of what it is that they are actually trying to do here. A lot of people feel that they should actually be stop releasing new features and fix all the stuff that they've got now. And that's been a fairly prevalent and strong reaction from a lot of the player base and the people that feel that what should actually be done. But it's actually the opposite of what's actually going on right now. They're actually trying to dump every single new feature that they can into the game and get it all in there, and then they're going to switch from new development into fixing and optimization up until release. And so, yeah, off the back of this, obviously we still have the ship customization patch to come, where they're going to basically do an overhaul of the modular ships to give them all their own unique looks and feel and all the rest of that sort of stuff, and potentially built from the skeleton up, which was said to be the plan all along. So that still needs to happen. But after that, I don't know what else is really coming, and it was all in the roadmap, but it's already out of my mind. But there's not too much more new features really to come. So there's going to have to be a massive effort of fixing, optimization, balancing, and all the rest of it. And there's even stuff in here that I've found a few people that I've been chatting with that they don't particularly like the changes and how it will affect PvP. But that's all by the by. That is apparently the thinking behind the way the development is happening now. And so we're going to have a short-term pain, or really it's just an extension of the existing pain of new features and bugs that are going to come about. But then we should hopefully start seeing them shift tact and start moving to actually get everything into a ready state for later this year, where the game gets released. Optimistically. But yes, let's move on to the patch notes. First thing that we're actually going to look at is the tame transportation ship, and this is the Pegasus. I've built myself an advanced shipyard. I've got myself some of the new stuff over there as well. But in the shipyard we have a blueprint. Spawned in a blueprint for the Pegasus. You will find these in shipwrecks just like everything else. You need to unlock it under the seamanship all the way down at the master shipwright, albeit that you can't actually craft it directly in here. You actually need to have a blueprint, or at least that's how it is currently. Whether that will change or not, but we build one, and let's have a look what we got. There's a little bit of a thatch looking thing, and that's really painful to get on. Let's try the rear steps. Well, front, I guess. Alright. It is a length 5 ship, so that means that there will be 5 modules. And you think about how long like the broadsider and stuff is. But again, obviously it's based off the... Yes, it's got the Kraken rails. So it's based off the Kraken ship for now, because obviously they haven't done the overhaul pass. But we have there's six cargo racks. And in here we should be able to store creatures. Basically you get 6 tame railings and you can store 5 tames in each. Load into cargo railing. Which one did it go into? Well, let's release the ship just in case it's that. Wow, whoa. What happened to my character? Yeah. Oh, that's gold. Oh, and it unloads it into the water. How good is that? Move to the Pegasus. Did it work? Yes. Nice. Load into cargo rack. Very good. Unload tame. There. Oh, this time, and unload myself into the water. Okay. A little bit clunky. It doesn't really have a nice interface. Let's just load it straight back in. It should be in this end one, but there's no indication to say that there is actually a creature in that cargo rack. It does have a weight, and so that's basically telling me that there is actually something in there. As far as the cost goes, that was like 2,500 wood, 2,000 thatch, 2,000 fibre and 20 metal. So this thing's very cheap. It's a large ship. It's basically, it is basically a broadsider. But yeah, given that these are actually modules, it's a cargo railing, right? That will mean that at some point or another we should be able to build these railings and customize our ships. But otherwise, it is basically the... there's no extra steps down. So it's a shallow version of the ship, is it? Well, let's go and have a look. Wow, would you look at that? So it is a shallow version of the Kraken ship. So it's only got one level instead of two. Anyway, so this is the Pegasus ship. Cheap, it carries tames, and yeah, hopefully this will help resolve the gridding issues that we've been seeing, as that was part of the thing. And while the tame house didn't actually make it to this patch, there will be a tame house coming too, which will allow for breeding without having hundreds of creatures on land. But we'll see how that goes. Alright, seeing as we actually have a ship available, let's just jump on the steering wheels. And they've changed the UI for the ships, and a bit hard to do free look. Oh no, I can. Cool. Up here in the top right, you can actually see the green borders around the outside of the ship, and this is the improved visibility to know where the durability is of the ship, and so you'll end up having an indicator of which part of the ship has actually been damaged. We currently have a nice bold green, there is a yellow for moderate damage, and red is poor. If there is something flashing, it means that that area has a leak. I don't know if I'll be able to simulate it. This is a PvP server from what I remember, so in theory I should be able to damage it. Alright, so yes, but it's a little bit more of an indicator there, and it looks to be that the overall health is determined by the whole modular length is that inner part. So we look up the top here, we can basically see there's a yellow bar, but it is because the whole length is damaged to a moderate level. Whereas you can actually see this right hand side, it's green, but it's flashing, and that's because for some reason the front part of this ship is being a little bit buggy. I'm not sure what I've done, but it's saying that this has got full health and I can't actually repair it, even though it says that it's leaking. Whereas, yeah, these are all just moderately damaged on this side. And I can repair them. But at the very least, that does give you at least a little bit of an indication. It's a little bit... I would probably like that if you weren't driving, because it would be nice for the person like myself if I was doing the repairs, if I could see as I was running around where those leaks were. So hopefully they'll be able to expand upon that UI element, maybe give it a little bit more detail than just one central piece for all the modules. Let's see if I can repair it from the outside. Yeah, put your anchor down, that's fine. No, it's saying structure is at max health, but it certainly isn't. But, I don't know if that's just specifically that side, because all the other ones were working. It could also be the fact that I spawned the ship in, so who knows. Okay, so the next part to this is the UI revamp of the map. So if we go to the Atlas, we can actually see here we are in the... I'm actually in the uncharted waters because I was testing out some of the other industrial new content. But up the top left here is the toggle the world grid. And it used to be a menu down the left hand side, but that's now gone. So if you want to be able to go to the other parts, you toggle to the world grid and you basically can select which one that you actually would like to have a look at. So if we want to have a look at Rookie Cove, we can click on it and we can see Rookie Cove. And we can basically see all the other bits and pieces. So Central Waters now, which moves on to the next part, we have open water servers. So as you're traveling from Central, you can go north, you can go east, south and west. And as you travel out of the region, it will take you into a transition zone. And that transition zone is the eastern, western, southern, and there should be a northern sea. And basically, yeah, you can basically, as you come out of central, you move into these new areas, and from that area you can then travel, North Pole, eastern waters, western waters, Africa, so on and so forth. So obviously, if you were going from the southern seas north back to the central waters, eastern waters, where's eastern waters? It's over there. So you could go to the eastern waters. It looks like you can go to Antarctica, and you can go to South America. Not sure why then southern then goes to Africa. Africa seems to be tied to, oh no, I think it is actually tied to the southern seas. So you get central waters, Africa, South America, and Antarctica. Whereas something like the eastern waters will have the North Pole, eastern waters, Africa, and then central. Something like the Northern Sea will have the North Pole as well, eastern waters as well, central waters, and then the western waters. So there's a bunch of different things going on there in terms of the layout. It'll be interesting to see when somebody actually pulls the map apart and actually shows the full 13 by 13 grid. How does it actually look if you stuck all the pieces together? But for now I don't actually have that. But yes, these are these little transition zones. There are no islands on these, they're just open waters. And yeah, it says just open seas and the treasure and dangers that come along with it. What sort of treasures would be the question. The dangers being, I guess, that it's just open waters and you might run into something. Who knows? We'll see what that is later on down the track. For now, I imagine that there's just empty water for transitioning between zones so that you don't have to use portals if you don't want to. Okay, so these next parts, we're talking about the Industrial Wonders content. So basically there are power nodes or static nodes and transient nodes for the industrial content. And there's actually one there in the background, just currently kind of looking a bit weird with the mine that I've actually built. This is actually the geothermal vent, which is the version of the transient node that we had with the other content, the Army of Damned. This mine is a ore miner. At the moment it's not actually working, so we'll have to wait and see whether that actually gets sorted out, whether I'm missing a fuel or something like that. I'm not entirely certain, but at the moment it's not gathering. I'll put some screenshots up of the other things, but this will produce brimstone, the static nodes, which are the lava vents, and the sulfur pits. Both look like they basically have like an oil rig sitting on top, and they produce the orichalcum and the pure sulfur. And you basically, inside the static nodes, you can then build the smithy as such. What is it called? It's called the industrial smithy. From there, inside the industrial smithy, you can build an industrial rifle, a hydro pistol, and sulfurous mini bullets. I assume that's mini bullets. Yes, it is the mini bullets. But yes, the addition to the industrial rifle and the industrialized pistol is that it has an additional bleed effect. And this is the part where I had some people basically arcing up pretty hard. And they're not particularly happy with the fact that bleed is now on these rifles and pistols, because bleed will affect certain things in certain ways. And so say for example, if the rifle has a 20% bleed, you can in 5 shots take down any team in the game from a carbine, basically, or an industrial carbine anyway. And I think it is the puckle, the manned puckles. They don't take damage normally, but you can actually use weapons to cause bleed and kill the manned puckle. And so now you can basically use your carbine to snipe men off the puckles. And so, yeah, the PvP people are a little bit upset about some of the things that are actually going on there, because they don't feel like they've been 100% thought out. But see comment right back at the start of the game. Okay, right back at the start of the video. At the moment, the developers are taking the tact of trying to just shove everything in, and obviously not taking in too much account in terms of balancing. Obviously, they do take some feedback, but at this stage, they're trying to get everything in, and once everything's in, they can do fixes, balances on optimization. And if this is as bad as what the PvP guys have been making it out to be, hopefully it'll get changed quick rather than waiting 6 months for the balance pass. But I guess it'll depend on how many people are talking about it at the time that it actually goes in. Although I haven't covered it off into the patch notes yet, you can actually see it off in the distance. The portals actually have a new whirlwind graphic, which is looking pretty crazy. Anyway, let's quickly get over to one of the Tortuga free ports and we'll have a look at what it looks like. Almost looks like it's got the Easter Island heads, just how they've been carved. Looks pretty cool. Just gonna have a look at this skull. Nice skull waterfall. It's pretty impressive. Fresh water. And Tortuga. Basically come through the waterfall. You then come into the port. And buildings on each side. Other than the free port revamp with the lovely new graphics, there is a new skill when you've actually achieved the Veteran Explorer quest. Go into the Atlas, we should have a Veteran Explorer quest. You need to acquire 25% of all the discovery points and you will get the Pirate's Resilience buff, which will actually cause all incoming torpor damage to be reduced by 50%. So that's actually quite significant. Alright, so we're done with that and we can move on to the bug fixes. So they fixed instances where vendor NPC's purchasable item highlights worked incorrectly, monumental studies was missing collision, market trade system is not locating the correct trade connections, circular slice not functioning with a shield equipped. Now I've heard this one was a bit of a rough one too. That one, circular slice, was not meant to function with a shield, but it looks like they put circular slice back in with a shield. We'll see whether that one remains as is, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Instances where available spawn servers were not reflecting the player's current server. Sounds good. That might be some of the problems we've had with players getting shit on when they're travelling through grids and stuff. Weight stats on the turtle ships would revert to default value after logging out. Cool. Claim points were inaccurate. Yes, they have been. Seafort towers and walls could be demolished. Sales stat points would change when a ship was released. Yes, I personally saw that one at one point. Duplicate sub was created when the dinghy dock was full. Small sails could be placed very close to each other. Holiday structures could be placed in free ports. Unnatural fog was not functioning. Misspelled text on the burial mound framework. Ship autopilot does not function properly. Ooh, ship autopilot might be fixed. I'm gonna have to test that. Ship of the Damned followed the players across grids. Yes, I actually had one following me through a portal. It's quite amusing. Overlapping gun ports on the turtle ship. Default cells on the cog spawned in incorrect location. Sextant minimap would crash the client in Blackwood. Modular maps would have more sails than in... Modular ships would have more sails than intended. Modular ships could exceed the intended maximum speed. The UI text would overlap. PvE claim tower would affect surrounding structures even if it was fully built. Islands having visual inconsistencies. Discovered 3 zones of power stones were in Rookie Cove grids. Multiple forms of torpor resistance to be in line with the description. The Great Temple structures having incorrect health values. UI errors. Incorrect creature spawns. And so that seems to be the big old bug fix list. And there was one in there that I wanted to check out. Is the autopilot. I don't think I have a ship on here to test that out, but I'm definitely going to go and jump on and to a lieutenant's podium or chuck a NPC onto a thing and see if I can actually get it to sail in a direction that I want it to. Because what would happen is you put the NPC on the wheel and you tell it to sail in a direction and it would turn the ship around and sail in the opposite direction. So I'll be interested to see if that one's actually fixed. Anyway, next up we're going to be moving on to the miscellaneous. So the settlement claim flag UI has been edited to be more clear. The respawn menu UI has been edited to be more consistent. Crocodile floating position has been raised. Portal art has been changed. Yes, it has. We saw the lovely whirlpool things going on out there. Valentine's Day and Lunar Year items have been removed from the holiday vendor because we're moving now into St. Patrick's Day. Shield Bash and Sword Attack no longer share the same cooldown. Large stone walls have health increased to 100,000. Large stone foundation has increased to 120,000. Some people were a bit worried with the large wall increase, whether it'll bring back large wall spam. But we'll find out that one pretty soon, I'm sure. Meat has been added to the list of resources that can be added to a crew silo, which is also pretty fantastic. So you don't just have to have berries and veggies now in the crew silo. You can put meat, which obviously has a higher food value. Stage progression required resources for the Great Temple to be modified to only use blocks and bundles instead of large quantities of the base resource. Okay, so yeah, you need to use the new blocks and bundles instead of just filling it full of resources. Progression table is now limited to the owning company. Progression table can no longer be destroyed. It sounds all pretty good, because yeah, I've heard that in PvP people just come in and destroy your progression table and you have to start again. Whereas yeah, it should be more, I guess, you start the progression and you need to capture the monument, not destroy it. Colours of the quality of items has been shifted to be more readable. And yep, I saw that in somewhere before. The names of the colours of the names of those maps and things like that, and were slightly different before. Even the blueprints. Probably if I hatch it 110.0. That's an actual thing. We've got a blueprint as well. So we have a masterwork, which is now purple, and a journeyman, which is like a light green. So yeah, slightly different colours. Modular ships sinking rates have been slowed by 50%, which is all well and good. Mortar and Harrier ships can now only fire if they are going under 5 knots, and that should help with the fact that well, the mortar ships and the Harrier ships aren't really meant to go that fast, as the next point is that the modular ships have had their speeds adjusted to be more in line with the legacy ships, but the mortar ships and the Harrier ships should be a slower ship anyway, and the fact that they have to slow down right to 5 knots should take away the overpowered nature of the mortar ship as it currently was in the game. The industrial seaport buff tower has had its descriptive name changed to the industrial generator to industrial tower. Okay. Level of details have been adjusted, updated and created for several assets. Fair enough. And lastly, I guess before we move on to something like the known issues, the Xbox specific stuff, they've fixed instances of memory leaks, they've fixed instances of textures loading and unloading incorrectly, and they've fixed instances where the level of detail was not being changed correctly. And I wonder if that's like when you were changing grids, you would lose the fidelity of your graphics and it would just get all blocky and stuff. Whether or not that's actually what they're talking about. This is a work in progress, additional features and optimization coming in future patches. And then moving on into the known issues. I need to scroll down. Xbox Series X still has some crashes when loading large number of structures. The Industrial Hydra and Industrial Rifle are not affected by Lucky Loader. Portal art for returning to Rookie Cove still shows the Atlantean Ring. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that one for the first time, but that's alright. Portal art does not fade into the sky correctly. Offloading teams faces them all in the same direction. The lava vent node will not damage players when they walk into lava. I did notice that when I was having a look at it. I was, yeah. It looks like they are intending for the lava to hurt you. And the Pegasus has the wrong icon. Yeah, which is all well and good. Icons can be changed at any time. Which kind of brings us to the end of the patch notes. I didn't have a chance to get clarification on the Xbox issues. It is something that I'm actually still waiting for. I've sent off a message and hopefully I'll get a response on it. Rather than a list of things saying what the issues were, like memory leaks and fixing the level of detail and stuff like that, I would like to know some of the more specific things that were actually done to improve the quality for the Xbox players. One of the ones that they said that they fixed, which should be included in this one, is Xbox players crashing when going to the Power Stone Islands, was one that was said to have been fixed. In Redbeard basically put it into the official Discord, and I'd like some more specific points like that. And when I get them, I guess I'll tack that onto a video somewhere so people can find out what those actually were. But Obviously some Xbox stuff is going on. Xbox S is still obviously going to have issues when trying to load huge amounts of buildings, but hopefully they'll have a bit of a better time. But they're not really saying exactly what at this stage, and they've said before that general fixes for that sort of stuff don't tend to make the patch notes. So hopefully, as I said, I'll get some background info and know a little bit more so that people can also know what it is that they're doing for the Xbox players. Anyway, that seems to be the full list of the patch notes this time around. Obviously, it's a huge number of new things have been put in. They've obviously taken all of the industrial content. We don't actually have the industrial wonder yet, whether there is going to be an industrial wonder, but that will probably mean a new island for the industrial wonder, or whether they'll piggyback off the existing island, and instead of building one type of wonder you can build a different type of wonder, which would be actually pretty cool, so you don't have to have too many locations where the wonders are going. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. That one's all just a bit of a guess in my mind. But really, the next patch I'm hoping will be the overhaul of the modular ship customizations, look and feel, and all the rest of it. I'm looking for that balance pass and the visual pass of everything to do with modular ships, which would be bloody fantastic if that one can come out. Yeah. Anyway, that is the end of it. Thanks for listening in as usual, and I will see you in the next one, probably when I'm streaming on Monday night, trying to finish off my Power Stones. I'd like to get the Kraken done before the wipe. And yeah, happy sailing. Catch you in the next one.